All right, cool.
I know we're watching. I think we're watching The Last of Us with them tomorrow, but I don't know.
They said they were going to be here at some point.
You going to Bellum next week?
Whatever. Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm Squire Tobi of Gestiguiste. I fight out of Angler's Rift in the Kingdom of Crystal Groves. I'm currently on my 8th Order of the Warrior. I've been fighting on and off since 2012. Interesting fact about me: I like to do impressions. So, have you guys have seen Madagascar?
Yeah.
You guys know King Julian?
Yeah.
Original King Julian. I like to move it. You know what I mean? I told you about the feet. Okay. Anyway, before we go too far, I'd like to kind of go down the line. Introduce yourself. Let us know what park you're from. How long you've been fighting.
Hi, I'm Haliax. I have been fighting for 9 years now, and I'm currently at Terminus out in Salisbury, Maryland.
I'm Lord Ken. I fight at Port Union, and I guess I've been fighting for like 20 years.
I'm Sir Nip. I'm out at Port Union as well, and I think I've been fighting for like 10 years. I don't know.
I'm Dolo. I'm from Windhaven, and I started in 2010. I think. Close enough.
Yeah. Bjorn from Port Union. Also, like coming up to a decade in fall here.
Fundu, about 6 months in, and from the Iron Hill Borough.
Oh yeah. Awesome.
I'm Fuzz from Iron Hill Boroughs as well, and I've been fighting for about 22 years.
Luke Hale from Iron Hill Boroughs, a couple months.
I'm Nova from Windhaven. I've been fighting for about 4 years.
Awesome. So a very good mix of experiences. So this is like the only scripted part I have, so bear with me. So it doesn't matter if you're a sword knight or on the grind for warlord or purely a battle gamer. Everyone can improve their fighting. This is my take on fighting fundamentals. These are all things that I've utilized as a baseline to improve my fighting. But my way is not the only way. I recommend looking into different styles, other classes, or speak to other fighters you look up to or inspire you to find what works best for you. Take what works for others and make it your own. So during this class, I ask you all to keep an open mind. Take the perspective that you have never fought before and you're back to day one. If your cup is full, empty it. This will allow you to learn and grow, not only as a fighter, but overall as a person, if you use this mindset when learning anything. As a caveat, the subjects and drills I cover today are supplemental. Take what you learn, drill, and apply it to park. These are beneficial things to practice on your own or with a partner to develop skills, but they are not a substitute for actually fighting. Also, a great way to improve is to fight better people than you. People who are good at fighting love to fight. So do not be afraid to ask for spars and feedback on your fighting. The main learning objectives for this class is to have a basic understanding of the following: stance, footwork, guard, shots, and this is to set the groundwork to build your own fighting style around. This will not be me talking at you apart from this section. I will do some demonstrations. I'll have you follow along with some aspects to help you internalize the topic we're discussing. After each section, I will stop for questions, so please hold any questions until I finish a topic. Are there any questions? Cool. Okay, so something else that I added in here because I felt it was important. Cardio, basic exercises, just being active. It's not actually some of the topics I talked about, but hiking, playing any other sports, walking your dog, anything to get you moving is going to help you out, okay? Being more active outside of fighting, like rock climbing, lifting weights, different martial arts, it's going to help you understand your body more, and it's going to be able to help you translate, like, I need to move a certain way. Oh, I know how to do that from wrestling. I can do that type of movement, okay? There's plenty of different options out there, but I'm not going to go into a lot of them because it's not really within the scope of this class. So, the first thing we're going to talk about is the foundation, okay? So just like a house, if you have a bad foundation, it's going to fall apart, right? So, the first thing we're starting with is our stance. So everybody can follow along with me. You might have to spread out, might have to stagger a little bit. Start with your feet together. Now go slightly wider than shoulder width apart. Normally, I'm doing this starting portion as in perspective of single sword. So you take your sword foot, you step it about a foot, one step forward. Okay, you take your back foot, you put it anywhere from 90 to 45 degrees, whichever feels more comfortable for you, okay? From there, go up on the balls of your feet. Kind of feel unstable when you're up here, right? All you need to do now, bend your knees. you kind of sink into it and you're like, okay, now I feel much more stable, right? If you want to keep your chest up, you want to keep the center of gravity over your hips and over your knees. And you can switch your feet depending on the situation, right? So sword foot forward, shield foot forward, right? So by having this foundation, this is where your basic fighting stance is going to come from, okay? Everything you're going to do is going to be from here. And it's going to be different for everybody, right? Because everybody's got different sized legs. My stance is a little bit wider than Nip's is, but this feels comfortable for me when I fight, right? Okay, so from here, moving on to footwork, how you actually move, right? So whatever direction that you're moving in, that foot moves first, all right? It's very simple. So if I'm gonna take a step forward, my front foot moves first. So I lift it up, I push off with my back foot, I take a step forward, right? If I'm moving backwards, my back foot moves first. If I'm moving to the right, which one do I move?
Right foot.
There we go. And to the left. Now take it back down. No, I'm kidding. Okay.
One hop this time.
Yeah.
Sorry, can I just ask, has anyone see a red necklace, moon-shaped necklace around your area?
No.
Nope.
I haven't.
Not so.
All right. Lapis lost it, and he's been hiding hydras apparently as far as here, so.
Okay, so something to remember, right? Always make sure your back foot follows you, right? Because you can step out and you'll be like, now my stance is unbalanced because I didn't bring my back foot with me, right? And now all of my weight isn't distributed evenly across my feet because I lunged forward. So in order to be able to move again, you have to recenter yourself, center of gravity back over your legs before you can move. Unless you're like a freak and can do some crazy stuff.
Clench the thighs.
Something I like to do to help me internalize it is I like to pretend that I have whatever distance my feet are normally apart. I'd like to pretend that I have a PVC pipe in between my legs with one of those like TheraBand things that runs through it, that each ankle is looped around. So when I step, the TheraBand pulls, hey, remember to bring your back leg with you. The PVC pipe is like, hey, don't bring your feet too close, right? It's just something that helps me visualize it in my mind. Okay, I'm stepping, I gotta bring that other foot with me, okay? There's gonna be many times when you're moving that crossing your feet is okay. I know some people are like, never cross your feet. There are certain times when you can. Like, if I'm trying to close on Dolo and he's way over there, I'm not just gonna do this, right? Trying to get up to him, I'm gonna actually cross my feet to get close and close the distance. Until we get within the danger zone here, like, I don't wanna cross my feet again. If you're moving side to side, if you're back here and you wanna look cool and you're like, oh yeah, look at me, I do capoeira, what are you gonna do? Okay? That's fine, because he can't really do anything to you. But as soon as you get close, you don't wanna cross your feet, because you're out of balance, right? If this was an amp guard and it was an actual, like, it was like dag or bell, and somebody catches you like this, they're like, bet, they're just gonna run you over. Full contact, they can tackle you, doesn't matter. That's not a fun day, okay? The other thing with this too, is like all of a sudden he closes on me and I'm like, oh crap, I gotta move. How do I do that from this position? I don't know.
You spin. Just kidding.
But actually,
Yeah.
just kidding.
Yeah. There are times where you can set that up if you really want to, but that's not within this fundamentals class. Okay. So one thing that we're gonna do, we kind of did a little bit, but I'm gonna grab a sword. Whatever direction I point in, I want you guys to get in your stance. Whatever direction I point in, I want you guys to move that direction. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So point that way. Okay. Point that way. Point that way. Point that way. Oh, point that way. So again, remember, when you're doing this and you're moving, I've noticed a few people as they've been moving, their feet get closer and closer together. Okay? That has its benefits at certain times, but if you're just trying to move, it's not really a good thing you want to do. Okay? There are benefits of like, I'm going to use this back leg to cheat up slightly, and all of a sudden I can explode forward much better, right? So there are benefits to it, but if you're just trying to learn basic movement, You want to be mindful of where your feet end up. Okay? I have a drill that we'll talk about at the end that can help with that. But anyway, we're going to keep going for a little bit. Okay. Another thing I see real quick is when you're doing these steps, you're not jumping. Okay? Like, you can be a pretty gazelle in your own time. When you're trying to fight, it's more beneficial to just step and slide. Okay? Some I didn't really talk about before. You want to step and slide, right? I know the grass is a little high, it's a little bumpy. You might have to jump to make sure you don't trip. But in general, you want to be able to slide when you move. Because the more your feet are closer to the ground, the less likely you're going to trip or you're going to fall. Does that make sense? Okay. So the next thing we're going to talk about, swinging stick. Okay? You can't win if you don't swing. You can't win. What's that?
I was trying to complete your sentence. My bad.
Can't win if you don't swing. All right. So everybody has a weapon, or can grab one real quick. Quick release. I like that.
How many holsters do you need?
I have more. I'm not even joking.
Dude, this book is so good, bro.
Isn't it great, dude?
My racer.
One bajillion weapons on my body.
The gory damn reefer of Mars.
Bloody damn.
Gory hills.
Oh shit, he got me into it. It's so good.
Isn't it great?
It is.
Isn't it great?
I cannot wait for the thing after Light Burn or whatever.
Whoa, wait,
Red
don't
God?
tell me shit.
Red God's gonna be dope.
So the first thing we're going to do, you have a sword in your hand. We're going to focus on grip. Okay? The way I learned it, there's 3 main grips you can do. Okay? Number 1, hammer grip. Okay? You know how to swing a hammer, you know how to do this grip. All right? Can anybody tell me what some of the benefits of this grip might be?
Power.
Power.
Stability.
Stability. It's really hard for somebody to knock this out of my hand, right? One of the downsides of this grip though is there's very poor weapon control. You can't do as finesse moves, right? You're not trying to when you're doing a hammer grip. You're trying to let somebody know, hey, I'm going to kill you, and I'm going to hit you as hard as I can, right? The opposite end of that spectrum is the saber grip, okay? This is for finesse swings. Most people that I've seen do it, they do it mostly with their fingertips, right? They don't really use much of their hand, they don't really use much of their thumb. It's mostly here. They have very fine tip control with their weapon. They can do all this fancy shit, right? One of the main disadvantages of this, it's very weak grip. So I am doing a finesse grip. Dolo hits my weapon as hard as he can. I was holding it as hard as I could from that grip. It's very weak. Does not give you a lot of support as far as that goes, but it does give you the fine tip control. The merging of the two is a modified saber grip, right? I like to think of it as shaking hands with my sword, where it rests along the meaty portion of your thumb, right? You grip with your fingers, and I like to put my thumb up top. You can actually see on both of my weapons, you can tell where I like to put my thumb at, because it's no longer there. My pommels have actually curved to the shape of my hand. So if I grab my sword wrong, I can feel it wrong in the pommel, and I can spin it until I find that spot that feels right. Okay? This gives you the best of both worlds. It's fairly strong, you have decent tip control, it's a good medium. That's what I recommend everybody start off with, right? If you want to get fancy and do saber, or you just really want to let somebody know you're mad at them, then you switch to hammer grip. Any questions on that?
No.
Again, shaking hands with your sword. If you ever go in for a good handshake, you know what that feels like? That's how your sword should feel in your hand. Yes? Perfect. Okay. The next section we're going to talk about is guard, right? So we're going to go over passive guard, some blocks, and some movement, okay? So passive guard. I don't know why I set that down, because I still don't remember this class. Okay, so hand and arm placement, right? So you're in your stance. Depending on where you put your hand, depends on how you're able to just passively guard stuff, okay? Usually it's recommended you put your hand about shoulder height of where your opponent is. So if I'm everybody's opponent, I know it's going to change for people depending on your own height, right? So if I'm fighting Lord Ken, like I have my hand out here, right? You don't want to fully extend your elbow, right? Because if you throw something or you try to throw a stab, you can hyperextend your elbow. That's not good. So you want to have a slight bend in it, right? Pick your spot. I go everybody's shoulders. Changes slightly for everybody, right? Another thing about this too is the further you have it from your body, the easier it is to block a shot, right? If it's closer, it's a lot harder to do that. You want to come over?
Sure. Cool. I figured I'd give him a visual.
Yeah. So from here, if my weapon's here, I have to block over here. If he swings to the other side, I have to move all the way over here to block it. If my hand is out here and he wants to swing on the inside, I don't have to move it as far. It's combat geometry, right? Tato did a great class on it. Highly recommend you look it up on YouTube. Okay? So this also changes depending on what your loadout is, right? So if you're going throw, there's a couple of schools of thought on it. The first one that I learned, so I'm switching my feet now, right? I have a sword in my left hand, my left foot's forward. This is my non-dominant hand. I prefer to have it forward because it's like, it forces me to have to use it, right? So, same thing. I tend to keep my hand slightly lower because I have another sword here to block this arm, right? And I can block this quadrant as well, right? Another way you can do it, I remember what this is called. The
Rogue grip?
Rogue?
I don't know. That's a rogue's fight.
So, Tato was showing me this, recommended I try it out. I've been trying to figure it out. I still run into my own hands a lot more than I do this way. But this way I have to come out around my sword if I want to use my right arm. Here, everything is right here, right? With sword and board, depending on what sword you have, or what shield you have, I should say, you usually want to keep, so if say this was a strap shield, right? I know it's a punch, bear with me. What I like to pretend to do, in my mind, pretend there's a stick right here. I'm gonna chicken wing down and keep the stick there, right? At that point, I like to put the shield underneath my chin and let this rest against my thigh, right? Can anybody really see anything open on me besides like this arm?
And legs.
Legs?
Yeah, that's
Right.
pretty much legs.
So this passive guard of where I keep my shield can protect against most shots. Okay? If anybody starts chopping on me and just throwing chops, unless I do something really goofy, they're probably not going to get around my shield, right? So that's if it's a strap shield. With a punch shield, since it's a center punch or any kind of punch, you can keep your hand out further, just like the combat geometry thing, right? It's like, cool, if I keep my hand out further, I can block shots easier. With a strap shield too, if you're having issues where your shield is coming out too far and you're opening yourself up, you can grab your shirt, okay? That way you can make sure that your arm doesn't move from the position that you don't, or position you want to keep it in. You just grab your shirt, and all your movement to block everything is from your hips. You just rotate, okay? For a punch shield, you can keep your gear out, right? It's a lot harder for people to, it's like the depth perception thing kind of throws off, right? Because you're like, okay, I see their shield there. Sometimes you can get people to fixate on your gear. You're like, cool, my gear's out here, and as we're moving, I'm getting closer. And they're like, oh, he's still the same distance away, and then you hit them, right? But punch shield allows you to be able to do a lot more stuff as well, where you can like, I'm gonna throw some crazy shot, but my shield's gonna be all the way over here to block their return, right? With a strap shield, it's a lot harder to do that because you can only go so far. So that's just passive stuff, okay? The next thing we're going to talk about, we worked on the foundation from our stance. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to build the walls and the roof, okay? So you're in your basic stance. You have your weapon up passively in shoulder height with your opponent. If they throw a shot, depending on what location you go to, you build the walls and the roof. So if they throw to my sword side, I bring my sword out to the side to block the shot. I build that wall. If they're throwing something to my inside lane, I bring my hand over here to block it. Right? I'm building the other wall. If they throw something high in this quadrant, like a high cross, I build that side of the roof. If they're throwing something over here, you can block over here to build that side of the roof. So you've built a house, right? You can also do that with sword and board. Or if somebody throws a high cross, or if they're trying to throw like a money shot, I'm just going to drop the wall down a little further. I can block that shot. This gear stays where it needs to be. Because if you bring all your gear over here and they see that, what's wide open?
Yeah.
This whole side. So they could pump fake and I go this way, and then they just throw a cross and I'm dead. So you can still use this to do everything else on this side of your body that you need to from building a house. So the passive guard I talked about and building a house really protects your upper quadrant from like your waist up, right? Didn't really talk about how to protect your legs. The best way to protect your legs, if someone swings in your leg, just move out of the way. Just void the shot. Just not be there, okay? If you drop your gear to block it with like a shield or something, and they pick up on that, they can fake on your leg, you drop your gear, they throw high, you're dead. Best way to do it, if you see somebody winding up for a leg shot, just move out of the way. Do you have anything to add on guard?
Oh, no, that's fine.
Okay.
I have more
Spread
advanced
that
things,
out.
but I don't really think that's appropriate in terms of
Okay.
like not showing someone your passive guard, but that's different. That's like not.
Okay, so next thing we're going to talk about basic shots. All right. If you could be my Uki.
Sure.
I have to be over here so the camera can see it. Okay, so for the purpose of this class, there's really 6 main ways or 6 locations you can hit somebody, right? So I like to pretend that I'm working on Bob at home, my pal. Okay. He's much more handsome than Bob. So you have 6 main locations. Okay. You have 1. You have 2, which is about here. You have 3, which is the shoulder. You have 4, which is the opposite shoulder. 5. You have 6. This way. Okay. If you're left-handed, it's the same thing, but the other side. Right? Or if you want to be weird, you can go 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Doesn't matter what way you number it. Okay. So depending on what location you're trying to throw, dictates what shot you're trying to. The location you're trying to hit dictates what shot you're trying to throw. There we go. Had it backwards. Okay. So the main shots we're going to cover, we're going to go over some chops, we're going to go over some wraps, we're going to go over stabs. So, just like I was talking about with the hammer grip, it's really good for chopping. Put an axe in your hand, bam, hatchet, you're chopping wood. That's all a chop is. So if I want to throw a chop to this quadrant to hit his arm, all I'm doing is just throwing a shot, straight out. Okay? Same thing if I want to just chop at a leg. Right? Instead of throwing here, because it's just going to hit his hand, just drop down, throw across. Right? You can also do it this way. I don't like to do it that way because that opens this up. I don't have anything here to block anymore unless I put my hand here. If I go here, I can bring my gear back up to block immediately. Okay? Chops are very simple. You can do them from any angle. You can do them from straight down. You can do them coming up. You can do them at an angle. You can do them reverse angle. Like, chops are very universal. One of the problems with chops, though, is they always start from the outside and they go in. Right? So it's easy for people to block those because they know where it's coming from. Right? Which leads into the next one, which is wraps. Okay? The way I like to help people who've never thrown a wrap shot before understand a wrap shot. Have you ever opened? No, that's reverse wrap. I always mess that up. I get too excited because I like throwing money. His fault. The best way to do it, everybody go ahead. Don't have a sword in your hand. Palm up. Okay? All you're going to do is you're going to move your arm across your body. At a certain point, it feels natural to rotate your hand over. All you're going to do is that. That motion where your hand rotates over, that is the wrap shot. Okay? So with a sword in your hand, the same thing.
Let's go down the line and see everyone's wrap shot. Because one thing I want to mention, something that my night showed me, is that when you throw a wrap shot, especially horizontal, you want to make sure your tip doesn't go like, whoop. You want to have it straight through.
Yep.
So why don't we just go through? Everyone show wrap shot. There we go.
I always heard it was like you're clearing a table of all the food.
That's a good way to do it too.
That's a good way to think of it.
Screw told me flip the pasta.
That's pretty good.
Flip
Still
the
a
pasta.
little bit of loop, but pretty
I
good.
like it.
Yeah.
There you go.
You gotta pellet meat.
There we go. There we go. There we go.
Perfect.
All right.
Awesome. So that's just a regular wrap. You can throw it from different directions, right? So if I'm fighting Nick and I want to throw a wrap, I can throw it from all the way around here, get around that way, right? I can throw shield side. I can throw a high cross. You can do like super crazy and go with a sky hook. And just be awesome and block it on your back.
I got it.
Okay? So that's like a full wrap, right? You go all the way from palm up to palm down, right? Whatever direction your palm is facing, it's facing the other direction at the end of the swing. Does that make sense? There are half wraps, right? Where you start here, like you start here and your palm is just down, right? Or you start here, yeah, your palm is just down. So if I want to hit the nice juicy forearm that he has, I'm not fully rotating over. My palm is now facing down. Does that make sense?
It's a lot easier to see with a shoulder too. Like if he wants to hit me in my board side shoulder.
So I could do the full wrap. You can also just do a flat wrap. It's a lot quicker.
It's a lot quicker. It's better too. Less of your tension. Full wrap all day.
I mean, it doesn't work when you're not using an arm. You have to.
It does. I can show you how. You just have to change your grip. You put your thumb on the side of the sword, and that's your flat wrap, like that.
Okay. You just rotate the
you
weapon
just
in
have to change your grip.
That's a good way to do it too. Think of it as a chop, but at the end you just rotate the wrist out. It's the same motion.
Yeah. See, I'm just doing like I'm playing the drum. You know, I'm just doing that. You can almost see. You don't put your whole body into it. All you have to do is just put your arm into it. That's it. One thing that he also mentioned or didn't mention about chops that I find really important is when you throw a chop, a good chop, if it doesn't hit anything, it still stands still. I don't want to throw my chop and my arm go down. I want to throw my chop and I want my hand to end up in the center, no matter where it's going. That way I can still block a return shot.
It immediately goes back to a passive block.
Yep.
It's just there to be in the way.
It also allows you to throw rapid chops if your hands.
Diagonal.
Stay right there.
Buzz, Lightyear to the rescue. Next one I have.
Yeah, same day.
The next one is reverse wraps, or the money shot. So not to like steal his thunder or anything.
You don't have to go for it.
So the way that I like to imagine
not my
throwing
shot.
this shot, right? Has anybody opened a door that has a handle on it? Perfect example are the doors here, right? All you're doing, your palms down, you're turning the handle. That's all it is. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah, not this. This.
Yes.
You're dropping your shoulder and your arm down, almost like a dump block.
It's like you're doing an armpit fart.
Remember, we don't want to go all the way through
And
necessarily.
it looks prettier when you do it that way.
Although you could go all the way through because it looks sick. But that's not the point of it.
Right. So a lot of times, righties, right? We fight other righties.
Yeah.
There's a nice juicy pocket right underneath the sword, right? Right past the shield. Boom, right in the love handle or the hip, right? Perfect.
It's a love handle.
Yeah.
Is it the Modelo spot?
It's the Modelo. The Modelo
It's
pouch.
still love handle.
Okay. When you throw this shot too, thing that can help you with it, because if I just stand here and throw it, I might not even hit him. I might hit his arm. If you drop, like we have our knees bent anyway, but if you bend your knees a little further, you get a little lower, level change, a little outside the scope of the class, then you can set the shot up better, right? I'm not
Also, when you throw a money shot too, you do also want to break the rules a little bit, and you want to lean slightly over your knee to do you a better angle. So like, I know we were learning earlier that I don't want to lean all the way over, but realistically, if I want to dip down, I can either squat even lower, which I can't do, but I can just lean down slightly over my knee and get the angle in there. And all your power comes from shifting, twisting your hip, and moving your arm like this.
It's like a samurai.
It's like, It's key. A lot of people, when I first learned how to do it, I thought it was like turning my arm over like that. I'm not turning my arm over like this. I'm just turning the handle of the door, like you just said. Just, you can even just kind of place your sword on your hip and kind of, you know. The way to get it in there is you do a feint up high first, which I know is a little bit more advanced, but you feint up high, drop your hand like that.
And hope not to get chopped in the shoulder in the process.
You have your arm up. So I'm not just gonna throw it and like expose my shoulder. I'm gonna put my arm over my shoulder like this. I don't put it right on my shoulder, you wanna put it slightly off. That way if he chops at my arm and gets through, it's just gonna hit space, right? So it's like that. You can even be cool and put your arm over your head like this. But you know,
avoid the bonk.
Okay.
I think that's for another class though, the cool.
Nah, I'm just kidding.
I mean, that's what we're all doing this for, right? Is to be cool as hell.
Yep. I mean, yeah. That's why we wear medieval clothes.
The next topic we're going to cover, stabs. Okay, so stabs are very, very powerful, right?
And I have to use the restroom.
Yeah. I can stab someone else.
No, just kidding.
Okay. So, one thing with stabs that you want to be mindful of. When you throw a stab, the most natural one that it's gonna feel the most natural to throw is just here, right? You're starting low, you're throwing in, right? The problem with that is if you're not mindful of where your hand is pointed. I'm this far away, my natural movement of my arm, the tip goes up, stabs them in the face, or hits them in the chest and rides up into their face. It's not fun to get hit in the throat, right, Dolo? So, thing you can do to mitigate that, if you're trying to throw the stab from here, when you throw the stab, your wrist kind of goes, not necessarily limp, but it allows it to extend. So you can control where the tip goes, right? One problem with this though, is if you're too far away and you extend your arm, and then you throw it, you can hurt your elbow, okay? So having a little bit of bend, mindful where your wrist is when you throw the stab. Another way to get around that, instead of throwing here, because you're like, oh shoot, I keep riding up and hitting him in the face, you go from the outside. You can rotate in. Okay? Another way you can do it, if you're really fancy, you come this way. And you do it this way. Right? If you really want to be fancy, you come in from up top.
Not in singles, though. I don't know why.
Not from the singles. You want to do it in sword and board. Right?
You can also still come up from the bottom, but turn your wrist at the end.
Yep.
So like that, so it tipped down.
Yep. So it's the same direction as this, but all of a sudden you're over here now.
Which is kind of cool because it changes direction, and they're like,
it's kind of like a wrap of stabs. It's like a wrap. It's changing the angle of the blade, right? So with your stab, it suddenly changes it, so the block is harder to take or harder to make. Anything else on stabs?
One other thing on stabs. One thing that's like really important that a lot of people don't realize is a lot of stabs are footwork, and you can get your stab in there by not extending your arm as much, just by walking it in. So like I can actually, instead of stabbing Toby from here, I don't want to go like that, stab him. I actually can just kind of slightly extend my arm and just use my feet to go push it in. It's also easier to see, harder to see coming. I mean.
Yeah. And if you really get your hips behind you, you can just jack the shit out of it.
Sure. You could do that, yeah.
I would not recommend doing that.
There was some love in that.
Another thing too is if, like, I'm a very aggressive fighter when I fight. Probably not so much in single, but in like sword and board, like if I just start moving towards my opponent, he literally can just be like, okay, cool, bro. I walk into the stab, right? Like sometimes you don't even need to move towards him. You be like, here you go.
You can do that, or if he's going high, you can just drop and stab like that.
Yep, underneath the shield.
Not in the testicles, in the stomach.
Sometimes that still happens.
Stomach.
Were you planning on going over foot switch? Because you're talking about fighting Florentine, switching your foot with Florentine, you can drop it, and it puts you that much closer in. I do it a lot.
What are you talking about?
When you're fighting Florentine, since you're talking about having your left hand forward, since you already have your right hand here, if you drop your right hand and step with your right foot, it already puts you that much closer to a stab when you're fighting somebody. You know what I mean?
It makes sense. So I guess one thing I probably could have covered, it's kind of like a mix between like footwork and this portion of the class. So if I'm right here, right? So say I don't even have this sword, right? If I'm right here, I can hit his hand, right? That's about it. if I just switch my feet to be in line with these toes and I switch it back, I can now hit his wrist. I can kind of lean a little bit with a money, I can hit his body. Before I couldn't do that because this shoulder was bent.
That's called goofy foot when you fight opposite foot, opposite hand. Just for
Yeah. So like from here, I can't hit him, right? As soon as I switch my feet, I have that much more reach out, right? So that's what Dolo's talking about. Like if I'm fighting flow, and I go to set up my, like I throw a chop out here and I step in, right? He's just Super Saiyan fast, so he just blocks it. But like you get what I mean. Like now this stab is much closer because I use my footwork, like he talked about, to set up the stab. Does that make sense?
And it's also actually something you can use in single sword. If I'm fighting goofy foot forward, you can, if someone doesn't realize you're fighting that way, you can be fighting at this range, and I can switch feet and now gain a massive advantage if they're stepping back. So it's something you can try out. I would always try switching your feet and seeing how it feels.
So that's what I have for basic shots. I know I covered grip, guard, basic shots. Anybody have any questions on any of that before we move on to the next section?
Okay. Ooh, excuse me. Sorry about that.
Solid 9.
Everything that we just talked about, right? How are you going to be able to retain this stuff? So now we're talking about basic drills, building muscle memory, okay? So one of the ones I like to do, we're going to start off with footwork, just going back through what we talked about, starting off with footwork, all right? So I forgot my cones today, but what I'm going to do, use this as a visual aid, all right? So at my house, I have a mat that I've made a square with tape, and then I put a cross in it, right? Just big old T, and I have it to where each of the lines that intersect, so say like this is the bottom of the square, you have the walls here and the top. So where these lines intersect here at the bottom, that's where I put a foot, right? The other foot, for my stance, is where these lines on the outside intersect, okay? Keep that visual in your mind because I don't want to step on these swords.
Yeah.
Right? So when I move, if I'm stepping to the left, what foot do I step with? Left foot. This foot follows. This foot is now in this corner of the square.
Yeah.
The T where it went perpendicular, this foot is now touching that T in the center. Right? You just go around the square. Everywhere a line intersects, that's where your feet need to end up. So if I step forward, I'm now at the top of the square, on that line. This foot is now in the middle of the square where this line, the line going horizontal across, intersects. Does that make sense? And you literally just go around the square. Right? That helps you get like the, okay, if I'm moving forward, my forward foot moves first. If I'm moving right, if I'm moving back. And you can switch your stance with it. Right? Say you're fighting sword and board and you got your sword or your shield foot forward. Same exact thing. When you first start off, and if you build one of these at home, you might have to look at your feet a few times and be like, okay. Okay. Well, that time I didn't step far enough back. I got to make sure I step further back. Okay. Just do that over and over until you're like, oh my God, I'm just seeing crosses in my sleep. Okay. Then from there, if you get comfortable with it, you just start moving. Right? You do it faster and faster. You can start adding in different movements. So like Dolo was talking about, we're like, if my stance is like this, and I'm gonna step forward with this foot, right? So the line is here in the middle, we got the top and the back. This is on the back right corner. I step up to the front right corner, right? Another thing you can do with this too, you can start incorporating pivots, okay? So this foot is in the middle, this foot is in the back right corner. I'm gonna pivot. Still in the middle. Now it's still the back right corner depending on which way you're facing.
Yeah.
Okay? You can also step forward. You can pivot out. You can do it to where I'm going to step backwards and to the right. You can start incorporating lateral movement instead of, we've been very like, okay, I'm going to go right, I'm going to go forward, I'm going to go back. You can now step laterally. So I'm in the center. I'm going to step to the back left of the corner. That foot follows. You're at this moment, you're like, oh shit, if somebody runs into me, I'm dead. I'm just gonna fall on my butt, right? But you're working on this movement to be able to be more fluid overall, right? So I'm gonna step here, I'm gonna step forward. Now I'm back in my stance, right? I'm gonna step all the way up here, because now I have more range with this weapon if I'm fighting flow, right? As opposed to here. I can't hit them, it's a lot harder for me to hit them because they're further away. Cool, all of a sudden I'm up here. Continue to pivot. I have a YouTube video. If you guys are interested, I can show you my stuff. It explains it much better than what I did, I think. Another one you can do, again, I said I forgot my cones, is you set up a line of cones about a stance apart. You start off, so there's 2 cones, you step in between them, you throw a shot, right? Actually, it would be better to probably go in this way first. So you step in between them, you step backwards and laterally. You step forward, throw a shot, backwards and laterally, right? So you go into each one of them, right? It's a lot harder. It feels weird when you're trying to do it the other way though, right? Because I said, if you're stepping that direction, that foot moves first.
Yeah.
But this foot's forward. So stepping backwards here feels really weird because you have to step forward again, right? You can still do it that way where you're like, okay, I'm just trying to get away from my opponent. So I'm stepping back here, but then this foot follows. I'm a lot further away from the cones now. But this is also a good opportunity to utilize what I talked about before, where you kind of cheat up your back foot, right? So I'm here, I step off to the right. Instead of going back to my full stance, I shorten up my back step. I take like a half step. Now I can suddenly be back in the cones. Okay? You can utilize that on your opponent to where they're like, oh, he's far enough away, he can't get me, and all of a sudden you lunge out. You're that much closer to your opponent. Okay? You do that both sides. Right? So you throw a shot, you step off laterally, step up, throw a shot. Okay? Another one you can do, this one requires a partner. So what you do is all you're doing is you're trying to keep the same distance away from your opponent, right? About a sword's length. So if the rip moves towards me, I move backwards. If I move forward, rip moves forward, right? All you're doing is just trying to maintain the same distance, okay? Once you get really good at that, you can start just going back and forth. You're not even throwing shots. You're literally just trying to maintain the distance, right? That's also opportunities where you can sneak in that little half step and be like, ah, yeah. Then you can also do that, incorporate shot throwing, right? But it's a good way to be able to maintain your distance on your opponent. And it works for both people. Do you have any other things you recommend, like drills and stuff?
Not necessarily. I do ladder drills sometimes, but that's more about like dexterity and me trying to like move my feet really quickly.
Yeah.
That seems like a speed camp.
That goes into the first part that I talked about, like cardio and all that stuff. If you guys get a speed ladder or just have one at your gym, look up some videos on YouTube and utilize that.
You can do it with cones too. It's a lot cheaper.
That too. Or hey, if you know what, if you're really broke and you like go to a parking lot, they have plenty of lines. You can utilize a line. Okay.
Rocks.
I mean, I wouldn't step on rocks. That might be bad.
Well, yeah. I mean, stepping near.
Yeah. You can like just a painted line for a parking spot. Like all you need to do, kind of goes outside the scope of the class, but look up some videos on YouTube. If you can get the coordination of how to like do the slalom or like any of those movements. So it's the slalom one is this one steps up, or no, this foot steps out, this foot steps in, this foot steps up.
Oh yeah.
Here, you just keep going through it, right? I can't really do it slow anymore. I have to do it fast.
Yeah, there you go.
But if you can move your feet quickly,
breakdance.
Yep. If you can move your feet quickly, it's going to translate over into your fighting. You'll be able to move your feet quicker when you're fighting, right? It also helps with coordination, okay? So if you feel very uncoordinated when you're trying to fight or move, at the beginning it's going to be rough. You're going to be like, how do I do this? I feel like a baby. I don't know how to walk, right? But once you figure that out and you go back into fighting, you're like, wow, I'm moving so much smoother. Okay, thank you for that. I didn't even think about those. Moving on. So shots and guard, okay? Not gonna lie, when I first started fighting, one of the first things I did was immediately look up videos because I was in a very remote area of like fighting. It was like me and a couple buddies. We found it one time in a park and we're like, you get to hit people? This is awesome, let's go do it. I had no idea about anything. I looked up a bunch of videos on YouTube. A lot of the stuff that I've taken from this, or for this class, has been from some of those videos. It's been from my experiences. It's been from I was such a nerd, I was like Googling stuff in like Reddit and other forums of like how to get better at foam fighting. I have a book that I made. It's like a binder that has a whole bunch of different random like pages of stuff. I found something called the Tome of Foam. Like, it's just like a massive thing that has like how to hold a sword, how to move. I read that thing like backwards, forwards, in and out, upside down. Like, I try to internalize all that stuff. Okay, so if you want to learn more, there's plenty of options out there. But one of the things I want to talk about is pelling. Okay, when I first wanted to get into pelling, the first video that popped up was Tato's CG Dojo pelling videos. Okay, and I practiced those in my garage. If you don't have a pel, if you have a tree in your yard, you have a pel, right? If you have a younger sibling, you have a pel. Okay. If you have a couch, you have a very short pel, unless it's a very tall couch.
You have a child, you have a pel.
I would not recommend hitting children unless they are also going to have the chance to hit you back. But what pels can help you with, right, is I know a couple people were talking about before, like where they were down an arm when they were sparring before the class started. They're like, I try to throw this shot with my left hand and it's like, I don't know what's happening. Yeah. I have that same problem. One of the best ways you can learn how to throw that shot with your left hand, it's literally just practice it in a vacuum, right? You're not worried about anything else besides the mechanics of that shot, right? So for me to learn the money shot, when I first started trying to figure it out, was like, okay, trying to learn it with my left hand. Okay, so I do it with my right hand because it makes sense. Okay, how can I recreate that on the pel? Okay, so I turn the door handle. I drop my body weight, right? You just practice it over and over. If you have like somebody was talking about like a bucket, I don't remember who it was, but you have like a bucket of bad shots. It's like a thing of marbles. Each marble you move out is a bad shot, right? You have to get through so many bad shots until you figure it out and it becomes smooth. If you're not ambidextrous, if you're normally right hand dominant or you're normally left hand dominant and you're trying to improve your offhand, that bucket is much bigger. You got to get a lot more of those marbles out before it starts making sense. Okay? But the 1 through 6 that I was talking about, those 6 locations, that's one of my favorite things to do. Okay? So with the 1 through 6, this is the only one I'm really going to cover. You start off by throwing 1, 1. Then you go 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, 6. And then you go 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4. All the way around. And then if you're really motivated, you start from the other side. You go 6, 6. Right? If you're really crazy, you add a third step in there. So you go 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, you know, all the way through. That helps you set up combos, right? So you practice the individual shots. Again, recommend CG Dojo Pel videos. Okay, that's what I learned. You go through, you can learn the combos of shots, right? Instead of just throwing a shot and returning to guard, you can throw a shot into another shot immediately. That can also help you set up what we were talking about with feints. Like, right, so I'm gonna pump fake high. I'm gonna go down and throw the money. Okay? By doing that, it's gonna help you get the muscle memory down. I'm very dumb.
Me too.
I'm very dumb. The only way I can learn things, I have to smash it into my face repeatedly until I can do it. Okay? Like when I was trying to learn how to play piano, I literally had to watch, I can't read music. I had to watch someone else play it. Okay, this finger goes, this finger goes, this finger goes. Okay? Like, that's how I had to learn it, because I'm dumb and I can't read music. Same thing with fighting. I'm very dumb. I have to repeat it over and over and over until it makes sense. That's why I made that little pel thing I took from boxing, or the floor thing. Okay, I step forward. Okay, I step this way. Okay, I step back. Right? It helps you get the muscle memory down. It helps you set up combos. And then you can do all of these different drills with footwork, right? So I talked about a little bit with the cone drill, right? So you're stepping and you're throwing a shot, right? You're out of range of your pel. You're trying to hit your pel, right? You're like, okay, I want to hit on this side of his body. So I'm going to step off at an angle. I'm going to throw here, chop, right? Or I'm going to be fancy and I'm going to try to be like Nip. I'm going to step off center line. I'm going to go this way. Go throw one. Look sexy in my garage. And I'm like, oh shit, I fucked up. Good thing nobody saw that. I'm in my garage. You can practice and get all those things down. You can incorporate the footwork to where you can. Just had a brain fart. You can incorporate the footwork where I'm going to step here and pump fake, and I'm going to step back across here and throw here, back out. Right? You can take all the things that we talked about and add more things into it to where you can get more comfortable with it all. All right? Another thing you can do, shadow boxing. I have a decently sized dish garage. Like, Or if you have a really big mirror, that also works too. You can literally just hold your gear in like a mirror and be like, okay, this is my passive guard. Can I see anything on me in the mirror? Oh, I can see kind of my shoulder. Okay, my shield's a little too low. I gotta bring it up a little higher, right? Oh, I keep my hand rotated like this so I can see my forearm, right? Or I'm chicken winging. My elbow's sticking out. Okay, I gotta remember to keep my elbow in, keep my sword out a little further, so you can actually get the visual. Then you can do shadow fighting, where you're like, remember we were doing build the house, right? Cool. I'm pretending I'm fighting an imaginary opponent. Like we're circling, whatever. Like, okay, he throws a shot here. Okay, if he throws a shot here, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna throw a chop to try to get that arm, right? Or like, I'm just gonna try to back away from my opponent. I'm gonna block all these shots, right? I'm gonna work on combos in the air, work on pump fakes. Just like boxers do shadow fighting, it's the same thing. It can help a lot. It's not a cardio exercise either. I didn't know that when I first started doing this stuff. I was like, man, I'm so tired. Why? I'm not even fighting anybody. Why am I so tired? All you need to do is go through the motions, right? It's more about in here than physically exerting yourself, right? Like, okay, I'm gonna set up here. I'm gonna pump fake out all of my gear this way to get all their gear to shift, so then I can come in with a money shot, right? I can body fake really hard to the side here, right? But all I'm doing is using this as a way to come back over this way and throw shield tech. The last one that has helped me a little bit, but it can kind of be a trap if you do it too much. Block strike.
Does everyone know what block strike is? Is there someone that doesn't know what block strike is? All right.
Okay. So we are about a sword's length away. So Nip throws a shot on me. I block it. As soon as I block it, I throw a shot on Nip. He blocks it. He throws a shot at me, I block it. We keep going. So you got me there. So when it happens, you be like, hit. You just let him know you hit you didn't block it. Immediately throw a shot. Hit, hit. He's much better at that. But the point is, it can help you with those reactions to get, after you throw a shot, to immediately return a guard, right? And it can kind of help you figure out the patterns of, okay, if I throw here, where's my opponent more than likely going to throw? Okay, cool. You can figure out where that return is going to come from. You can set up your block to block it right away. And if you can get that figured out and you get it really good, like ingrained in your brain, you can look like freaking Goku. It's like Super Instinct or whatever.
Ultra Instinct.
Ultra Instinct. There we go. And you're just like, bah, 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 bah. You didn't even touch me, bro. What are you doing? Okay.
Also use that time during block strike to try different, not setups, but different shots from angles. So like, if I'm throwing, if I want to hit Tobi in the arm, I'm not just going to throw like this every time. I might throw like a little bit over. I might throw like that. Like try to experiment with how you're throwing. That's called a backhand if you guys don't know. So like, there's actually 3 different kinds of like basic chops. Straight chop, drummer strike, which is a half wrap, and then a backhand, which is coming straight down like that with my hand. And it's really sexy because it feels really good when it lands.
Any other drills?
This is just a simple one, but it's not even really much of a, like he already kind of described the same thing, but I do this sometimes before a tournament, or like when I'm trying to center myself. I practice stepping forward and throwing a shot at the same time, like over and over again. Like I'll just sit by the tree, and I'll just be like this, and I want to make sure that I'm getting used to throwing and stepping, because I don't want to step, throw, or I don't want to throw, then like step in. You want to get used to that, like I'm just coming right in as I'm throwing. Step and throw at the same time. Foot up, down, foot's down, foot's down, foot's down, foot's down. So that's not really much of a drill. That's just kind of warming up. Something I do.
It's still something very important to think about, because as an example, story time. I was at a tournament in Winter's Edge. I was fighting, I think it was Flo, and I was throwing shots, but I was like, man, why is this not working? And one of the guys in the line, before I got back in the pit, he's like, dude, it's right there. Take another half step forward when you step. You're not stepping as far as you think you are, right? So I started making sure, I was like, okay, when I throw this shot, I'm gonna take that extra half bit of a step. All my shots started to land. It's the only reason I bracketed was because he pointed it out to me, okay? So when you're practicing this stuff, when you're drilling it, right, you're like, okay, this is in a vacuum, right? This feels comfortable. I know how to do it. When you get on the field, you maybe retain like a little bit of that, right? Because now you're like, oh shit, my opponent is moving. I have to think about where their gear is. I have to think about all these other things. So the stuff that you drill and you practice over and over, that just becomes your baseline, okay? Even then though, it's not gonna be as good as fighting Bob in your garage, okay? You can be the best peller in the world, but if you can't translate that to the field, it doesn't matter, right? So you might have to be a little more conscious on the field, but like, okay, when I take that step to throw that shot, I really have to make sure that it's a full step and not just like that's not gonna get me anywhere. I have to make it a full step. And that drill, like he was doing before, that can really help you keep, okay, I'm gonna make sure when I'm going forward that I'm actually taking that full step. Any questions about anything we covered? I know it was a lot. It was a shotgun blast to the face. It was almost exactly an hour, so that was awesome.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, bro.
You're talking about setting up the square and the cone for the line.
Yep.
How far apart should all that be?
Shoulder?
About your stance. So about a little bit wider than shoulder width apart for each of the cones, so that when you step in between them, you try to step directly in the center, right? And then I'm going to step off to the side, and now I should be back in the center. For the square, for the footwork drill, it's going to be different for everybody. It's based on your stance. So one of the things you can do is just like, okay, I'm not even going to think about it. I'm going to go wide. I'm going to step forward. Okay, does that feel comfortable? Okay, that's my stance. Do that a couple times on both sides. Try to measure that out. Like put little pieces of tape where your feet are, so then you can make the actual box. Cool. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you. All right, awesome. Thank you guys. If you do have any questions, hit me up. Let me know. I'm always down to spar. I like to hit people. So thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Toby.
No, it says for that.
Your team. Money shot.